This is the Cricket Matters podcast. Today's topic is how your neck could be holding back your batting. And this kind of follows on from the last podcast where we just did, which was all about why you're looking at physical traits first, or why you should look at physical traits first before you look at technical. Now, I imagine if people are struggling with their batting, again, they're going to go to hand position, grip, foot position, bat position, etc. before they go anywhere near their neck. In fact, they probably wouldn't even think about their neck. So, James, go on. Why on earth should we think about our necks when we're batting?
Exactly, and this is what I'm seeing more and more and more of, is that, you know, there's an ideal position to be, roughly, or ideas. There's many ways to skin a cat when you're batting. People bat differently, but there are certain things that are key to your batting, and that is your head position, being level and straight at a point here. We don't want to open up too much at point when you're playing the shots, because the hands come out in front of you, you square yourself up and it causes issues, which also restricts power. We want to be aligned, place on the side on a little bit. There's various different ways in terms of what batting should look like, but when you see a good batsman, they have certain things in common, right? And they look elegant, it makes it look effortless. But one thing they want to be is have some form of alignment, right?
Yeah.
So we want to have, and it starts with the head. The head controls everything. A lot of people say, take your foot to the ball. You listen to the pros, it's all about getting your head over the ball, getting your head to the ball. Kevin Peterson's a great example of this. He talks about, kissing the ball, getting your head to the ball so you can play those shots. Not necessarily about the footwork, but getting your head to the ball to play some of these shots.
Same thing they say in football, get your head over the ball when you're trying to keep a shot down.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, similar things. So like in anything, it starts with the head.
Yep.
Now, you're probably thinking, well, why the hell the neck? Why are we looking at this? Well, guess what? If you have physical limitations with your neck, you're going to struggle to get it balanced. Now, we can all agree in batting that your eyes need to be level before point of contact, because we want to make sure we can judge the line and length accurately. If for those watching on YouTube, there's a skew, if you're already off canter, it's an offset spirit level, you're going to struggle to be able to see the ball. So we want to have a point.
You're also going to be able to struggle to put your power down as well if you're not level, aren't you?
Well, exactly, yeah. So in terms of just about looking at it, like tracking the ball, we need our head level, right? But guess what? Batting is technically a side-on game. So therefore, you need to be able to, if you're side-on, you need to be able to rotate your head left or right, depending on if you're left or right-hander. So let's take me as a left-hander. So I need to be able to rotate my neck to my right accordingly and make sure it's level. But guess what happens? If we don't screen people for their cervical rotation, their neck rotation, left and right, then flexion and extension, flexion being forward, extension being back, right? Well, this causes an issue straight away. So I see so many batsmen who, when we try and get them into position, or they try and get into position, straight away they're turning sideways on, the head's at an angle. It's like at a 15, 20 degree angle coming down like this, instead of perfectly neutral and straight. To their eyes, you can see by the tip of the helmet, it's off canter like this. So if you're off canter with your head like this to begin with, you're always going to struggle.
Yeah, you're already compromised, aren't you?
Exactly, your vision is going to be compromised. We want to have this head level to begin with. Now, some of the best players, they go slightly skew as they go and play the ball, which we've seen on quite a few bits of analysis recently. But the point at the starting point, you need to have a still head, because a moving camera takes blurred pictures, and we need to have it level to start off with, the starting point here. But if you're already skew-iffed, because you're always going to struggle to track line and length. Now, the other thing, say you can notice this and you want to be straight, have your head straight. So I'm doing this side on here now. If you rotate your head and try and keep it level, your back shoulder comes out. So in my terms as a left-hander, my back shoulder comes out. So therefore, I'm getting more squared on with where I'm facing the ball. Now, what issues does that cause? Well, you see, say people play squared on. You're absolutely right. People do play a little bit more front on. But we need to know as coaches, is it a physical restriction that's causing them to play side on, or is it because they just feel more comfortable? I'm seeing more and more people being uncomfortable with their neck position, which is why they come square on. But what we do know, A side-on position allows your hands to go back better, right? Allows your hands to come through faster and more of a straight back path coming down. Because if we open up the shoulder, again, this is getting very technical for people listening to the podcast, your hands are restricted to how far they can go back. If we stand side on, your hands can go back further. You get an extra 2 or 3 inches, which we all know in a lot of cases is really important. So if you think about this now, right, we can get our hands back far if we're more side on. But if we're side on and our head's off to tilt like this, we're not going to trap the ball. So therefore, we have to automatically come round. So therefore, people with tight necks tend to open up more with their back shoulder, which means they tend to play inside out with the ball. Yeah. Right? So we need to be aware of this, because when it comes to the neck, we then have to ask ourselves, well, why? What is the issue going on here now? If it is because they've had vertebrae fused, right? C1 to C3 is completely fused, right? The cervical 1, 2, 3 down is completely fused. Well, guess what? We're never going to change that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right? Something's happened, major accidents happened, it's going to cause issues. Therefore, we need to address that with our coaching. We're going to, right, this is always going to be a problem. Therefore, we need to make sure we got coping mechanisms for it. So maybe we take a couple of shots out. Whatever it is, we're aware of it. But most people I know, particularly the youngsters trying to come through, they have flexion, rotation, extension issues, which means they're off canter, which means the shoulder comes out here. At that age, they shouldn't really have a problem. So therefore, it's a problem we can address and correct. And the question we have to ask ourselves is it a mobility issue or is it a tone issue? Now, what we mean by that is mobility being physical restrictions. Is the joint stiff and has not been worked before? Do you need to see a medical professional? Or are the muscles so super tight and you haven't released them in massage before that they physically can't let you do it? Because ideally we want the physical stuff, as in like we want the tight muscles because we can work on that. Yeah. The joint is a bit harder. You need to see a professional to do this, but that's what we're looking for. If it's a tone issue, meaning it's what we call motor control, patterning, that's a whole different ballgame. That means going back to basics and retraining your body how to do certain things, which could bring in the shoulders. It could be bring in the pecs at the front. It could bring in so many different
You could be here all day going through what it could bring in, mate, couldn't you?
Exactly. That's our expertise when we come into this. But the point is, it starts with the head. And again, there's so many things we can disagree with in technical terms on batting, and everyone can. But I'd like to think we can all agree on having a still head at point of delivery with a level set of eyes is key. And if we can have that, great. But at what expense? Because your physical limitations may be impacting the technique. And we see time and time again that if you have a stiff shoulder that comes out here as you're batting side on and it's rounded this way, it's pointing this way. And if you open up more, you already square on and squaring yourself off because your hands then have nowhere to go in front of you. You're literally coming down the back path and you're playing at balls in front of you to end up nicking off. Okay. So for us, when batsmen come to us, the most important test that we do before even looking at video technique is their cervical rotation test. This applies to other things, and we'll save those podcasts for another time for the bowlers and the fielders. But if you lack range of motion through rotation, left and right, flexion and extension, and by the way, in terms of rotation, in an ideal world, I should have said this right at the start.
I was going to say, just to finish off, what are the tests that someone at home could do, just quickly to test it?
Yeah, so very quickly, stand with your feet together, mouth closed, and in one movement, this is really important, in one movement, rotate as far to the left and right as possible. Not 1, 2, 3 and kink your head trying to get to 90 degrees. It's in one movement. It's like, okay, breathe in, but don't extend your back. Don't try and twist your neck over to get there. It's got to be in one movement. Do it in the mirror. See how far you can go. Now your nose...
80 degrees.
Pretty much 80 degrees. So that means almost over your shoulder. Be specifics, past the clavicle bone, right? If your nose is pointing towards extra cover, or even worse, cover or backward point, right? you're struggling, which means you're always going to be prone to opening up, which means you're always going to struggle to play on the onside, and your hands are never going to come through as well. So technically as well, flexion extension, important because it helps you track the ball. So the three of them come together. So hopefully we haven't gone too technical and too data specific, but for us, before we look at technical stuff, I need to know what's happening with the neck, because by understanding that how the neck moves, it's going to dictate how I work and coach with you in terms of the technical aspects. And that's really, really important.
Absolutely. So there you go, guys. If you want to improve your batting, check your neck. That is it for today. Please don't forget to rate, review and subscribe. And if you would like our free training plan, then go to cricketmatters.com/train. And remember, our goal is to make you a better cricketer.